Welcome to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I want to talk about the Disney cruise ship in San Diego that was boarded by what originally was reported as ice, but ended up being a sting, where they had said 27 people on board that were crew had transmitted child, probably like sex abuse material. So it was interesting that it was reported incorrectly first as a immigration sting, and then it was like a different sentiment that everybody felt, the public felt like it was maybe like unfair. And then to find out later that it was actually like a big sting. And the Disney, I'm going to assume it's the Disney Wonder, because I know the Disney Wonder is usually the one that is out of San Diego. If it's not the Disney Wonder, then it would be the Disney Magic. But the Disney Magic is not the primary ship that is leaving out of the San Diego port. Usually is the Disney Wonder. But those are the only two ships that come out of San Diego at all for Disney, would be the Disney Wonder or the Disney Magic. It was reported that when the crew members were arrested off the ship and they were zip-tied and cuffed, they were still in their uniforms, and people who actually recognized their cabin hosts or stateroom hosts or dining team, staff, bartenders, what have you, recognize some of those people. And then to realize later that those people were serving and attending your family is kind of like jarring. Now, I personally have sailed my first 8 cruises were Disney cruises. Disney Cruise Line is the cruise line that introduced me into cruising and got me sort of like semi-addicted to cruising. And Disney Cruise Line doesn't have any gambling. There's no casino on the Disney Cruise Line. With the exception of bingo, there is no gambling on Disney Cruise Line at all. So they have to entertain their guests with just pure family fun entertainment, and their reputation for being safe is probably the most well-known, and like I would say they're the world leader of family entertainment, and I would say like they have the highest level of expectations of safety and vetting. And I personally do a lot with Disney. I own a Disney Vacation Club timeshare. I, up until recently, always had a Magic Key. I've gone to almost every Disney park except for Disneyland Shanghai. And I still have 2 sailings on Disney Cruise Line that I have to take. One on the Disney Adventure and one on the Disney Treasure. So I have a vested interest in understanding what happened in the Disney Cruise Line failure of vetting and what they plan to do differently going forward. But Disney was not the only cruise line that was in this sting. There were other cruise lines as well. So that tells you that if this was able to penetrate Disney Cruise Line to that extent that there's 27 crew members on board on that ship, that's called like the classic ship, one of the classic ships, because it's the smallest. So that means the percentage of crew versus total number of people would be higher of the percentage of people that you'd have to be concerned about. So now you got to take that percentage realistically, and now you got to vet on every cruise line, every ship, that percentage. You got to see, like, is there that same percentage? The same way that, like, you know, I'm a former hardcore Catholic, and so we know that there's a percentage in religious sex where they don't allow any if it's like a celibate practice of being a priest or but even though there's pastors that I don't know if they have to be celibate in different religions, and then there's stories about those men, usually men, taking advantage of the position of power and then doing things they shouldn't be doing with kids in a sexual manner. So I think people are really quick to blame Disney and like come down really hard on Disney. It was like Disney's name was the one that was just basically like the only cruise line that you actually hear in this sting report. Like that's the only cruise line that you just really, really know was involved. But with all of the experience I've had going and spending money with Disney, I think I can honestly say, like, I don't know, of the entertainment money that we have spent over the last 10 years, I would say at least 60% of it had been on Disney, if not more, until we started going on other cruise lines and then like getting free comp vacations on cruise lines and casinos, because Disney's expensive. But that's also why, like, you have this peace of mind when you're a parent there. I remember when I was just having my oldest sort of like transition into going to school for the first time, we had to get him acclimated to like not be around me. So we did that on Disney Cruise Line, where they had a nursery and they had like actual nannies in the nursery, and the nursery's only $9 an hour, which is a great bargain. It's a beautiful nursery because they build it out like with like It's a Small World motif, and I mean, it's Disney, so there's all like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, baby stuff. Super cute. And the staff in there, the crew, the cast members, were actual nannies. They were certified nannies from, like, Ireland, I remember. There was, like, 2 from Ireland and a couple from the UK. And I felt extremely comfortable with them. And I feel like if Disney made a mistake, I would have to assume that every other cruise line has also made that same mistake. And it may be more of a difficult thing because I know Disney has more invested in making sure that they do as best as they can. I mean, even still now, like, it's not, I have 2 cruises. Did it strike me? I have these 2 cruises on Disney, and I did think, like, oh, how did I feel about that? You know? I'm very good at educating my kids about it, and so I think it's also good, like, at school, or like the slang for kids right now is like to call everything with like the Epstein files, everything is just like a PDF is what they call it. So I get to just, you know, like we have a language to communicate it in without everybody getting embarrassed or anything. So they're able to know how to be safe. They would communicate with me. I've taught them what they're allowed to share, not share online. So I feel like they're aware. And I'm also overprotective. But, like, for instance, the Disney Adventure recently, I think like last week, had a sailing that got canceled because the ship had a mechanical failure, so it could not sail. The passengers on board got to use Wi-Fi for free until they got back into port, and then disembarked everybody, gave all of the passengers... Now, this is what's great about Disney. When something like that happens, they give you 100% back of your money refunded to you. And then your future sailing, you'd get 50% off. And then these passengers got an extra $500 in cash if they filed the claim. And then they also got a room at either the JW Marriott, a Swiss hotel, or the Shangri-La. And the Shangri-La is generally like a 5-star hotel. And they're in Singapore, so they can go to the Marina Bay Sands. I mean, Singapore is pretty dope, so it's not like the passengers can't do anything. But even that, I was more like worried about that in terms of like, what do we do? Should we sail? Should we still go on this trip on the Disney Adventure knowing this about the ship? And considering moving the trip to a different ship, I put more thought into that because of the Disney Adventure mechanical failure than like the reality of like, well, am I not going to go on a Disney cruise at all because of this bust? I think I still am very protective of my kids. So like, they're usually with us anyway on the Disney cruise. They go into the Oceaneers Club, but there was not anything about any of the counselors from the Oceaneers Club being of the 20-something people that were arrested. But, you know, it's still an early process, right? They just like had this sting. So more news could develop and come out. But that's basically, my reaction was how it was. I was sort of like, my initial, because I've done so much Disney. Like, I literally just Went to Disneyland on April 27th, then went to with my family. Then went to Disneyland again for a VIP tour. And then went to Disneyland again on Mother's Day, which was also my birthday with my kids because that's what they wanted to do for my birthday. So I've been there very recently in the last 3 weeks, 3 times. And I still felt safe in there. I still felt, there were certain things, but it had nothing to do with safety. Just I think it's just in terms of money where I was like, oh, I feel like if I'm a family that's really, really going through it and don't have money, it's so hard to go to Disneyland without ending up spending money. You could wait, you can do it, but you can also the next level up from going there and just not spending money other than even the cheapest popcorn, churro, turkey leg's $15. Churro I think is $5.25, and popcorn I think is $4.75, $6.75, something like that, before you get into the popcorn bucket level of getting popcorn. And you can get water for free, which is not necessarily the easiest, but you can do it. And then parking was $40. They had raised it. Standard parking was $40. And I just thought, man, if you're on a budget, $40 just to park is crazy. I was on the SoCal 3-day special ticket, which ended up being $83 a day for Park Hopper, which is a steal. But I still felt like, man, we're going to pay, we decided to do Lightning Lane multi-pass. Each person was $37. So that made $148 for Lightning Lane. So for family of 4, we're $148 plus the $40 for parking. It's $188 base level to have a day that makes you not want to lose your mind on everybody, So I think that there's a balance with Disney where they provide such a good value amount of entertainment that is pricey, but they give you a lot of value for your money, which then you rely on them to have the safety aspect of it really handled. But with the number of people and staff and guests and everything, there is, in terms of statistically, it's probably not that high of a number statistically, but one-on-one with your child, that makes you concerned, right? So it's something to be aware of. It's something I think with the thing that generally happens when something like this happens is that then the vetting process gets better. The security system gets better. So I would imagine it's going to get safer right now. If anything, if you're sailing now on Disney, it's probably the safest it's ever going to be because they're really, really paying attention to everything. And, it would be more difficult than any other time for somebody to do anything bad or try to get hired now, I think, at Disney Cruiseline. So, I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts on that are. If you were concerned, if you thought it was crazy, what, if any, concerns you had or changes, or if the reputation of Disney changed in your mind from hearing that news, or if you, understand it's obviously that's not the only cruise line that's going to have it. So, and then tell me if you've sailed and what you thought of it. Could they have improved their security? Could they do something better with protecting kids? Or is there anything else that can be done? Is it if you're somebody that's going to do that, you're going to do it anyway? And of course you're going to go towards kids. So it's really everybody's responsibility to be vigilant, to pay attention. Oh. All right. Give me follow, subscribe, Substack, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and welcome to the new subscribers on YouTube. I'm very thrilled to have you. It's always nice to see that, there's interest. So, until next time.